Well, hello there and welcome to the channel, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to look after, how to care for, how to choose your Canna Lilies. There's a lot to talk about, so we're going to be quick, no messing around and no time wasting please. All of your species of Canna Lilies, not true lilies, are to be found within Central and South America. So you can be forgiven for thinking that these are tender, subtropical, almost tropical plants, and how on earth can you grow them in your UK cold winter garden? Well, the reason is this: it's all about hybridization. So when you go to your local garden centre to purchase your fancy, exotic, coloured foliage with their lovely striping and colour variations, and also those wonderful big blooms, what you're buying are hybrids of the original species. And with regards to hybrids, you have something that is known as hybrid vigour, and this is often expressed by more vigorous growth, maybe larger flowers, and quite often an increased cold hardiness, which is important moving forward, especially when you're trying to grow them in the UK. And that is because, according to the Royal Horticultural Society's table of hardiness, and that's my favourite table of hardiness, your Canna Lily range are only classed as tender plants, and tender plants should not be kept in temperatures below 5 degrees Celsius and no colder than 0 degrees Celsius. So that means no frost whatsoever on any part of the plant. Well, I refute that RHS because I grow a number of cultivars in this garden, a number of hybrids, and we've had them outside all year round for the past 2 years without any winter protection. Last year temperatures went down to -5 degrees Celsius, and the previous year went even colder, down to -7 degrees Celsius, and yet we still have all of our cannas growing through in the spring, and they look absolutely fine. And we will be looking at all of them, especially the ones in flower, shortly. Regarding flowering, you can expect your Canna Lilies to flower sometime between June and October, but that will depend on the species or hybrid or cultivar that you have. It will depend on the growing conditions that you have, and it will depend on how established that plant is. But there is a little tell with regards to when your canna is about to flower, and I'm going to show you that tell now. In fact, I've got a big tell on this banana plant. Have a look at this. So this canna here, this is Red King Humber, and you can tell by the shape of these, it's very similar to the banana plant, and of course they're closely related because they're both in the Zingiberales family. And okay, look, you've got a typical banana leaf here that's long, that's probably about 1.5 meters, nearly 2 meters, and it'll keep producing similar sized leaves right up until it begins to flower. And then when it does, it produces first a flag leaf, which is a much stockier leaf. Look at that, that is only probably 0.5 meter as opposed to like 2 meters of these. So the flag leaf comes up, and then your flowering spike comes out. So this is the flowering spike of a Musa basjoo. And then we look at the Red King Humber right here. You've got your big old leaves shown here, and then right at the top here you've got a flag leaf, which is stockier. It's much smaller. And this here, this is not another furled up leaf spike waiting to open up. This is the flower head. So we'll come back actually in a couple of weeks and see this plant in flower. And just be aware, this plant is, it's quite a stocky plant, is growing in semi-shade. It's got the shade from the bananas, it's got the shade as the sun comes around from this apple tree. So growing in the shade, still stocky, just about the flower. So we're doing well, we're nearly at the end, and I want to talk to you about pests and disease. Now, there's a few pests and diseases that they can get. Most of them you can deal with, but one is actually quite a bad one, and luckily for you, I've got that one here. Let me show you this wonderful plant. It is Canna Cleopatra, and one of my favourites. So here it is. It's very easy to recognise Canna Cleopatra because it's got bicoloured flowers. It's got bicoloured leaves. It's like a chimera. It's as though someone's managed to fuse two different hybrids together, and they create this one. But I really like this. One of the things that it gets are leaf roller, which is a caterpillar. It's not actually showing very well on it. Let me see if I can find a better one on another leaf. Okay, I haven't got a particularly good example of reef miler, but what I do is I'll stick a little image there that shows you the straight line of holes that this flipping insect does. But in the UK, it's not a big problem. They tend to sort of like attack those early leaves as they emerge, and after that you don't really see them. So in the UK, it's not a big problem, although I know it is a bit of a problem, I think, in the Americas. Right, let's continue. The younger leaves can be susceptible to slug damage in the spring, but come the summer, you know, during hot dry conditions, the slugs will disappear, so you don't really get the damage occurring on these high leaves. You can get aphid damage on the new growth as it comes through, though we don't tend to get that here. They tend to go for everything else. But the big problem that they have is virus, and you see in this cane behind it, this yellow stripe on the leaves. That is Canna virus, and all you can really do with that, because you can't do a spray for it, you have to remove it and destroy it, because biting insects can be a vector. They'll transfer from one plant to another plant to another plant, and all the plants if you're not careful. So as soon as you see that, you want to remove it, destroy it. I mean, really, you want to take the whole plant away, but I love it too much to completely take it. So that bit's going to go, and that's it. So when it comes to purchasing your Canna Lilies, you get 2 bites of the cherry. You're able to pick them up as bare root tubers in the spring, but you don't want to plant those out until after the late frosts have passed. But there is an issue with there. Firstly, if you buy them too late, then those tubers can dry out and you get weak, stunted growth. So you want to buy them as early as you can, which will be before the frost. So when you are buying them, you want to pot them on, put them in a frost-free area like a greenhouse or your garage. It doesn't matter if there's no light, because they're in the ground. It doesn't really matter. You can bring them out later. There is an issue when you're buying these bare root tubers in those little pre-packs, is that you cannot guarantee that the planted root in the bag is the same as the one in the picture. And quite often I buy these, plant them up, it's not good enough, it's a different plant, or it's just so dry, they've been lifted far too long ago, and the quality is really bad. So there are issues. The plus side is you get your biggest range, and they're relatively inexpensive. Right, your second option is this. You buy them as flowering plants already established in the pots, and they'll be available in your garden centres around about August. That way you can guarantee that your plants are the same colour as the picture, because you can see it in flower. You can kind of guarantee the quality of it, you know, make sure it hasn't got any signs of virus or anything on it that you really don't want. So if they do have, then avoid those. They will be more expensive though, but you know, depending on when you buy them, when you've got your design going in, then you know, you can choose, pick and choose. But there you go. And now all we need to do is find out how and where to plant it. Well, they're quite easy to look after. They'll tolerate semi-shade, but will do far better in the sun. They'll flower in semi-shade, but you'll get bigger and more blooms when they're in full sun. Soil-wise, they're not particularly fussed about that. They'll tolerate alkaline, neutral and acidic soils. The only thing they really want to have is reliably moist soil throughout the growing period over the summer, and particularly if it does dry out, then it's down to you to water it. But free draining, reliably moist soil throughout the year. Be aware that in the winter they are not going to like waterlogged conditions. If the roots are subjected to freezing wet conditions, then that can open up the risk of infection to root funguses, and that can damage your tubers. You know, they can just melt away and they don't arrive back in the spring. Now the last thing I want to talk to you about is overwintering your Canna Lilies. Now back in the day, in the Victorian period, Canna Lilies were unusual, they were rare, everybody thought they were tender. So once the hard frosts arrive at the end of the year, the canes would get damaged and the gardeners would chop down the canes. They would lift up these tubers. The tubers would then be potted on into like a very free draining, quite often just grit or maybe a peat, and it would be moved to a position of frost freeness for the rest of the winter. And then come the spring, when the threat of late frosts have passed, they'll be wheeled out, planted up again, and that would be the procedure. But here on the south coast, that's not something we really need to do, and certainly I've never done that with any of our cannas, and we've been growing them for decades now. All we do is just cut back the canes as you would do when they get hit by the first hard frost, and we just leave them there. We don't do anything else. But if you live further north and you're a little bit worried about ground penetrating frost damaging your tubers, because if that gets into them they will just turn out much, be useless, then consider putting on a dry mulch. Now there are typically two choices for a dry mulch. You can be using like a mini bark chip, which is my preference. You put 2 to 3 layers and just put it straight on top of the root mass, and you don't need to do anything else apart from that until the spring, when gently take it off without damaging any new shoots coming through. The other option that people tend to use, I've not really seen them use it, but it's one that's always listed, and that's use like a gravel or a sand and put the sand on top, which you can do. It's just to give you some protection from ground penetrating frosts. So there you have it. That is everything that I want to say on how to grow, how to care for, how to maintain, how to overwinter your canna lilies. And if you've got anything that you would like to add, then you are more than welcome to do so. You can put that in the comment section. And yes, I know there are aquatic canna lilies that tolerate being waterlogged all the time, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about the garden hybrid and selected cultivars. Thank you for watching. Before I go, I've just got one last message from me from the past. Right, now, just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff, and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck, because we've created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description. You can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough, I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.